I think there's an ad starting soon. As is fitting, it's going to get hot in this room. I can tell. Kill some lights.
It's not going to get hot here in my basement where I work. Cool. We're on.
We
And
are
we
on.
have one weekend of CRUFT in early access behind us.
We do. It's been pretty
something?
dope. It is something.
Yeah.
It is something. It's exciting. It was. I mean, we basically, hit the go button in last stream, and that was Thursday. Then you and
Feels
I.
like a long time ago.
It does feel like an extraordinarily long time ago. We played some Warhammer on Friday. Business offsite meeting out in the barn.
My God, I got destroyed.
You seemed off.
I did feel off, like, as far as executing the game in my head. I'm not 100% sure where that came from. It's easy to blame a variety of nebulous factors on that.
It was a lot to digest going into a crusade. But that said, like, we got a mission that was, I was like jumping up and down when it was like, and the mission is miasma of something, and I was like,
oh yeah,
oh!
it was a total flavor win for you, and that also turned out to be like tactically pretty good for you as well. I think the one factor that I haven't given enough credit to yet is that you just played well. You played well.
I played sound ball.
The dwarves suffered for it.
I did. I played like I should have played it, I think. Let me put it this way. I did not make any mistakes that I thought were tragic. I didn't.
Yep.
I was also coming at you with a bunch of units you've only seen either once or never.
Also true. Oh yeah. And I continually get kind of tunnel vision once all the pieces are on the table, and I forget about the reserves, which you even gracefully reminded me of. You were like, don't forget I got all this. I still got all these.
Yeah.
And man, when they hit the table, I was like, oh my God, this is way worse than I wanted it to be.
It was fun. I think it's one of those things where, like, playing it as a crusade, like, you just got to take it to the bitter end, because there's so many. You're not just playing for the win. You can't just talk through it and be like, well, I think I'm going to end with 55 points and you're going to end with 52. Yeah. There's all these extra. I mean, I guess we could talk through some of it, but like, so much of it is based on whether or not you kill someone and get more stuff.
Yeah,
for next time.
It's got that Blood Bowl thing where, like, you might be losing 4-0, but you still technically are supposed to play it out. And man, that feels bad sometimes.
Yeah, and guys could get injured. I mean, I had two guys, get battle scarred. You had one, so it's like it's important for you to get those licks in.
I was actually, I felt less bad about the loss after seeing that, like, it wasn't this thing where, like, all my guys are jacked up and all yours are less messed up, right? It's not like, at the end of the Blood Bowl match where the injury box is just full of permanent scars. Like, I rolled a 1 once on the Crusade equivalent of injury table and spent a point to get rid of it. So, like, I really haven't lost anything.
Yeah. That said, like, I gained a lot. Like,
oh yeah. But the things you gained are stuff that I will be, like, compensated for the next time we play.
Yes. I think there is still, like, there's, like, some degree of compensation. I think even for being, like, behind by 0 to 4 Crusade points. I think it's something like that. Well, we'll see. We'll see when it comes up.
We'll see.
But yeah, it was an interesting Friday. It was also, like, I did have my phone out, and I did intermittently, check. We got a decent pop in the beginning, which is good. Just like people getting that notification on Steam. There's a few close friends who got it within minutes. Lenny, a couple other people, like, just jumped on it, which felt really good.
Sean grabbed it.
Yeah, like we didn't do any formal announcement anywhere. We've been doing that today. We figured we'd let the build cook over the weekend, see if we got a bunch of bug reports on stuff. Like
Hmm.
make sure that we didn't. I mean, there's only two of us. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. More on that later. But there's only two of us, um, and so like you can't regress the whole game every 45 minutes. There's no like QA department to just send over. So figure give it the weekend. Let it ruminate, and nothing huge came up. Some great feedback already has come through. Um,
Yeah,
some fantastic feedback. Um, so yeah, today's PR day. Put a PR post up, my first one in a quarter of a century.
that's pretty
Uh,
cool.
yeah,
I mean,
my
that's
first press release.
this is the day. Like, what's the right word for this? That this is task number one, right? Like of getting the game into the world.
Yeah. Um,
Maybe it's task number like 100, depending on how you're counting. But
it's true. It's true. We
marketing task like number two.
we do have an ad starting soon, so I'm just gonna push the button.
All right.
Oh, I'm not even pushing it. It's gonna push it on its own. Yeah, it's go time, Badger. It says starting soon, but it has not done anything yet, as far as I can tell. There we go. 63 delicious minutes of no pre-roll. So yeah, we're back. It does feel like it's been forever. And it's literally just been the same amount of days that it always is between a Thursday and Monday.
Yep.
Time is
Same number of days it's always been. That's yeah. I think there's like a bit of like there's just a bit of relief in my brain that fires off when we hit one of these, you know, accomplishment points. It's why I have a spreadsheet with a bunch of sentences on them that I, try to studiously update as long as I go, because like feels good to finish something, and we finished something on the last stream. That's great.
marketing visibility. Let's see. Sales and activation reports. We've only had 3 returns.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
To be expected, right? Like you're gonna get. I don't know how to say this like diplomatically, so maybe I won't try that much. Like CRUFT is obviously not the kind of game for everybody, right? Like
definitely not. It leverages on the fact that it is for somebody.
right. That's my tagline in my head. That's my head canon for CRUFT.
This game is for somebody.
It's the right game for somebody. Well, and actually that was probably the most validating part of like the Discord activity over the weekend was like somebody dropped in and said like, "Wow, this game is for me." Like,
Yeah,
great.
it's pretty darn sweet. Badger says, "I need some of that Finnish excitement." Yeah, it's true. I don't know if they're stuck in an ad right now or not. So we'll see. We'll pick that up in momentum. But yeah, like having someone come in and genuinely enjoy the game, and then bring a friend, and then have lots to say about it
Yeah,
is
more
is
on
a
that later too, right?
yeah. That state for me is like the optimal game dev state. And it's part of the reason I push so hard for like let's get this thing into early access is because it it absolutely tells you just how speculative you're being
Mm-hmm.
up to that point. You know what?
Yeah, like
I'm
I,
gonna
I live in a most of the time I live in a world where like I run the game and the thing that I expected happens or it doesn't happen. But from a design perspective, none of that validation occurs until you're out there in the wild with people downloading it, playing it, and deciding whether they like it or don't.
Yeah, it's
and then really what you need is someone to tell you that at the end of the loop, because you don't always get that either.
Yeah,
that's like maybe one of the hardest things to get. So it is why you go into early access. I used to think that early access was just like a marketing gimmick to get you to launches, but like through working with you on this project, I think I've come to see it very differently.
Sweet. Hearts and minds, Will. Hearts and minds. It's it I mean, I think we've obviously seen like tons of early access stuff come and go. Some of it's good, some of it's not. A lot of my understanding of it, my personal understanding of it, is like, having gone through several soft launches on mobile games, having worked on an MMO that's like live 24/7, um, and then having worked on games, going way back in history where
I was about to say
maybe
it's such a big difference from like the classic. You press the disc, someone gets on a plane
yeah.
with a disc, and then like you hope you did everything right. Like that was the game industry when we met, and it
Mm-hmm.
changed so much since then.
Yeah, and it's like I think I'm good at positing what someone might find entertaining, but a lot of the details there, and it's not like, I mean, we design out a lot of stuff, but like the understanding that tons of it can, will, and should change means that the sooner you get to a point where people are invested in the game and playing it, um, optimally having fun, the sooner you start getting that feedback loop, the better. Um, we are not getting rich anytime soon. We sold like a modest number of copies in the last few days with zero marketing. I think Steam units. I think through Steam we've sold 43 copies, and it's on sale. So like, it be what it be. But we're pushing our marketing a little bit, entry level marketing. But the main thing is just the feedback that we're getting.
Yeah, again, those numbers are, like I was saying last time, tossing a pebble into a giant lake. Like and we weren't expecting.
We didn't line a bunch up. I am pleased with that number of copies, given the fact that the only way to know that this game exists is to either follow me on LinkedIn, and the Venn diagram of the things I'm going to describe has an amazing amount of overlap. Follow me on LinkedIn. Follow Will on LinkedIn. Be one of our.
If you follow me on LinkedIn, you don't know that CRUFT exists yet, and I need to fix that.
I mean, there's be a Steam friend, and maybe watch the stream.
There's Discovery Queue is the one I wanted to shout out. Is like
that's where we got our one of our first big boosters, and I think that's going to help. And it basically the game just needs a ton of reviews. Didn't expect Trench Crusade. Is it out? To shift gears real quick. But yeah, like the Venn diagram of LinkedIn, Steam friends list, and this stream is pretty heavy overlap, and like me and Will's friend circles, pretty big overlap. So it's nice. Oh, the level of success from the Kickstarter. Oh yeah, the Trench Crusade folks are like all set. They've got to execute, and that's a very good point. And not shifting gears really is that like Kickstarter, and we could have chosen to do this. Kickstarter is like a very good way to get people on board. It's gotten burned in terms of video games. There's been several big ones that have gone there that have made people shy away, and some of them that just made promises that were like nigh impossible to keep. But it's getting people involved early that I think makes the best product.
Yeah, just having a wealth of perspectives to draw from as you're making decisions is super great. It's like one of the things that's attractive about being on a big team. It's one of the things that's attractive about getting a cadre of Kickstarters to come along for the ride. It's one of the things that's appealing about putting these meetings on the internet.
Yeah, them tubes. I changed our actual category to CRUFT for this one today.
Nice.
Get a little traction. Get a little
CRUFT is a thing that anyone could go download and play for $7.50, right?
Yeah, it's $7.50. Small price to pay for enjoyment. Yeah, so today, this morning, I did a little bit of stuff over the weekend, just like to pass the time. There's
a little bit of work stuff, or a little bit of
a little bit of work stuff.
So, are you on the comms, or are you down in the data mines?
I was just on the comms. I didn't want to crack the game open, but there's this company, Sleepy Otter, that does influencer marketing stuff on the relatively cheap. And what I liked about it is it was just like a fixed cost for what they do. Basically, just they send a formatted email out to a bunch of streamers. We're gonna see how it works. But I got in touch with them Friday or Saturday. Maybe it was even on Thursday. I don't remember what day it was. And they're super responsive.
Good sign.
Yeah, good sign. I mean, if they're a total sham, then hey, you might as well be responsive if you're a total sham. But they seem to have good credentials, and it's the kind of thing that is like packaged up. I mean, it's it's $150 to send out a bunch of keys to a bunch of different people, and they have a large database of streamers. But they do show their work allegedly. They seem to be showing their work. So we'll see how that goes. I strongly believe that this game is excessively right for the people that like it. And by that I mean, because that sounds kind of like a truism, but like it's definitely not for everyone. But if it's your jam, you're going to play for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah. Well, this is sort of part of this is like a product design concept in general, right? Like you want to build a product for somebody, not try to build a product for everybody.
We've acquired a Luke. Change my screen around. Luke, you are on the internet, just so you
know. Hello.
Howdy. Hello. What do you know? It's Luke Beatrice. So I said earlier, a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's only two of us, but apparently that is no longer true. I'd like to welcome Luke to our burgeoning 4 viewers. I think one of which is probably me. But Luke's going to help us out with art. Luke comes from a long legacy of exceedingly awesome game design.
Yeah, there's 2 whole generations of us.
Indeed. So I've been in contact with this guy, Chris Beatrice, who used to run a studio called Impressions, then ran Tilted Mill, hired me my first job out of video game school. And I've been grilling him on how the heck to make art. Eventually he was like, this Luke person that I made is a pretty good artist. And I was like, So did some finagling. And here is Luke. Luke's going to help us out for a while. Having an actual artist is awesome. Having an actual artist that I'm already very familiar with their work is triple awesome. And having it be a Beatrice tickles me pink. Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
How's your first day been? Grueling, right?
What?
Grueling, right?
Yes, it's very, very hard. I was looking at some sprites of chickens and beer.
Yeah. It's a good psychological test to see where your eye was drawn to.
Oh yeah, the baby animals are for sure, the best part. I was telling my friend actually about this game today, and based off of my description, she just asked, "Oh, so it's basically like a chicken kidnapping game? Like you make a chicken and then you put it in your van and drive away?" And I was like, "Interesting. That's the one thing that you picked up."
That's pretty tight.
Yeah, no, that's good. We've gotten a couple like nefarious interpretations of CRUFT. The other one is like you're sort of this bandit leaving messes on abandoned properties all over the world.
The strange realtor just keeps sending you to
you've got
new
a shady
places.
Realtor who's.
I mean, you don't spend money to buy the property.
It's true.
Yeah,
these are good questions to ask.
It's a little shady. You just don't have to fill in all the blanks, and then people, build their own narrative out of it, which is kind of cool. I did leak a little bit in my blog post. I'm not trying to sell a blog post. I'll just tell you what's in it. About roadmap stuff. They bring up like having a permanent property to kind of go home to. We want to get a lot more narrative in the game. I did make a bullet point that we'd like the art to improve. And that's on the roadmap. It's fun coming back to work now, and now thinking about like one day back, thinking about like the long-term roadmap, which isn't going to be all that long. We're not going to sit on this game forever, by any stretch of the imagination. But it is kind of the opportunity space between Wednesday of last week and today, having an artist that can come in and really get their hands dirty, having day one of early access behind us feels pretty good. It's not too shabby. So what do we have? Go ahead.
Just a fun time to come in with the early access thing. Interesting seeing it.
Yeah, you're like, boom, live from Go. This is going to be, I'm going to have to be extra careful not to talk over people now that there's 3 of us. Let me see. We had some notes.
I don't mind.
Yeah, it's going to happen constantly.
I'm an interrupter. I'm the worst. I'm a huge interrupter. I apologize in advance, and don't feel afraid to call me out on it.
That was my way of shielding Will, who interrupts me constantly. I'm kidding.
Well, if you got something important to say, you got to just start talking.
Exactly. And Will actually has a tremendous amount of important things to say.
I got nothing to say right now.
Yeah, exactly. Silence them. I think it's super important. It's obviously like that kind of like stuff breaks down when you get to like 8 people, but I'm so comfortable with interruptions for exactly that reason. It's just like, if you got something to say it. We all track what we're talking about pretty well. And if something doesn't come back up, probably wasn't that important.
Yeah.
You guys are coming along for my self-code review for just a minute here. I've fixed one of the failure cases during the tutorial where you unlock the magnet early, because that actually occurred over the weekend.
It did.
Back on the topic of last weekend in Cruftland. But yeah, I think we've got some fun agenda items to start talking about. Where do you want to take this next, Z?
Let's see. Why don't we? This is going to take a while. Why don't we figure out what we're actually going to ask of Luke in the short term, and how we're going to track all that crap? Because essentially, like,
how are we going to do this?
How are we going to do this?
How are we all going to get through this together?
That implies that I don't track much, which I don't. We probably, it's a true story. I don't know how you live with me, Will. I don't.
I live in a different house.
I just mean like you help raise me up into being a slightly more organized person. Shared with me.
I can extend that same offer to Luke if that's required. But yeah, I think one of the things I want to just try and suss out over the next hour or so is just like, how do you want to identify and track your work? Like it's not something that I think needs to be prescribed to someone. I think that's kind of heavy-handed. Like, we're all coming at this from the perspective of like, we are adults doing this because we want to, so let's get it done.
Sure. Some of it is simpler to me. Like I still haven't looked at all the assets, but I'm pretty good. I'm seeing a lot of them. Some of them are really clear. Like there's a good chunk that I could spend like less than a minute on one of the item icons and just like improve it visually by just shifting around like a couple of pixels.
Yes.
So there's a huge amount of that would probably take me like maybe an hour total. But there's some things that I think like the clarity could be increased. Like it looks really close to something really strong, but you don't immediately look at it and associate it with what it is. And then there's some things that I think could use a lot more visual revamping, like some of the trees. I don't know who did the trees, but some of them are really cool and some of them are like need a little bit of extra help, I think. Trees are hard.
Trees are hard. In fact.
And then there's other things that I don't know that if you guys, because I'm not as familiar with the game as you guys, so there's some things that might be on your mind where you're like, we need someone to look at this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So here's how a lot of these meetings go. Yeah, is that Will opens up a spreadsheet and we start line iteming stuff, and then we put estimates on it and we put priorities on it. I think it's on me to invite you to Google Drive where a bunch of stuff will be.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hit any of the buttons that lead into that because then email addresses are on the internet. So I'll leave that to you. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna sort of like try to as verbatim as possible note down all the things you say, Luke. So yeah, keep going.
Will, do you know where the spreadsheet you're working in right now actually resides in the file hierarchy?
I think you own it. It is not CRUFT. It's not in the CRUFT data category.
Correct. All right.
Probably just search for CRUFT roadmap.
No, I could do that. I just want now that we've opened the door to an interloper, I got to start putting stuff in the right place so that
interloper.
I'm pretty good at figuring out weird systems that other people have.
That's good because I got to tell you,
I have to say, setup this morning went super smooth.
Sweet.
I gave Luke a couple links, and then I was like, "All right, so let me teach you how to do everything in painstaking detail." And he was like, "Oh, I already did that." So that was good.
Well, but then we had to redo it all again because I did do it slightly wrong.
Yeah, you're forgiven. You're
okay,
forgiven. The nuances of Git protocols are not.
Yeah.
I don't expect people to know that stuff. And we did have a little bit of weirdness with like the package system that I set up. That one's on me. There's like 2 different ways that we get extra code to make the game run, and those weren't playing nicely for Luke. But otherwise, things went pretty smooth.
I'm only an artist, and I have to deal with code and things because of my love of video games.
What an answer! What an answer! Where the hell did we find you?
It's not my skill, but you know.
I've been there. I was there once too.
Yeah.
Yeah, fix the art and so the smithing station needs a complete redo. It's deceptive. It looks like component parts from other assets. That needs a thing. I mean, I did copy paste some stuff in there, and I thought it would kind of look cool as like an open station thing, and it looks like ooh. We're just I'm taking these from the chat. People who have played the game be like, cool. Maybe you should fix this.
Yeah, and that's the case where I think you put like an anvil in the art for the smithing station, so the player
and the forge,
an anvil in there, or it would be able to do what the anvil does, and it didn't. Yeah, that's a good one.
All lies. All lies. All of our UI panels need like an actual professional look-see. The phone, we're pretty like, has gotten work on it and it looks kind of close, but it could certainly look more phone-like. But the other menus are like Will or myself going in, putting like a gradient background in, like not 9-slicing a darn thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Like caveman-y stuff. could have a ton of improvement there.
Could you? There's a bunch I want to dig into more. In fact, almost every one of these items I've written down so far is not concrete enough to like pass my criteria for a task. But let's talk a little bit more about the UI in the phone background, because I was also feeling like the phone is so dark, and when I like looked at the store page and saw all the screenshots lined up next to each other, I was like, wow, that phone just sticks out so hard, you know?
Yeah, I
Is
actually
that
did have
bad?
some value thoughts. Because I think people super underestimate value. They think of color more than value. But like, I think some, like the color of the yard, some things get lost in it because they're like the same value as it. And then the phone being really dark and the yard being really light is probably what you're talking, or has something to do with what you're talking about.
Yes, that is exactly it.
We basically need a value pass in general, which is
Value's
actually
hard.
it is hard,
Harder
and
than trees, I think.
I agree with that. Though it plays into trees a lot.
Yeah.
The sort of getting the ball rolling, chit chatting with your dad, because I was helping him out with some design stuff. He was just paying ideas, and he's like, "So what can I do in return?" And I was like, "Well, like take a look at this game and just give me like a couple things you can tell me about it." And we went into value. I've got a long thread um, from Discord, and your dad is very good at like, why don't I give you some diagrams as well?
Yeah.
And even just like someone like me who's like not a legit trained practiced artist, he showed me images of like how to properly valueize grayscale something in Photoshop, which is not just turn it black and white. You gotta like change modes and all that. And I saw it and I was like, oh snap. Like this is how your eye sees value. I was like, all right.
Yeah.
It's dope. Like I think I fixed the cheese a little bit, and I did it by adding like a little extra blue to cheese. And it's not the cheese isn't blue cheese, it's yellow cheese.
Wow.
But I
I
was
love
like,
cheese. I just have to
I just like very quickly, just to see if I could understand the example he was giving me. I went in, added another layer at like 25% opacity, grabbed the darkest blue I could find, and just like did the outline of it and the cross line on the wedge. And I was like, I never ever would have thought to do that. It doesn't look blue, but now you can like see the edge of the thing. But yeah, the backgrounds, oh my god. The backgrounds.
Yeah, the backgrounds. Oh my god, the backgrounds. Let's talk more about the backgrounds. So I've got on one task here that the values between the background and the phone kind of are creating more contrast than we want. That sounds correct to you all. What else do we want to do around the backgrounds? There was some trees talk.
The backgrounds are full of trees that I got to tell you, like those backgrounds are just like handmade, and then just grab a bunch of trees, resize them, plop them in. They're singular files. They're not like generated. They are just big ace sprites.
I mean, there's a lot of potential in backgrounds, I think, because the way your game is structured, the background doesn't affect anything so far as I've come
Yep.
to understand it.
That's
So,
exactly right.
I mean, you could have cool different things. I mean, not to get ahead of myself, but like there could be like a seasonal one. It's like just snow or something. White, I don't know.
So what's great about this is like Will and I have discussed stuff like that, and it's always been a matter of like capability, like doing a Halloween update that comes with a new map, comes with like, all right, you can grow pumpkins, you can carve them, you do this, that is not hard to do in this game now. Like the amount of tech that's in there that allows that, I think honestly, especially if I wasn't doing the art for it, good God. Like you crank that level out in a week, with a couple Chivos attached to it, and like give it another week to sort of simmer and fix some bugs on it. Very doable. Um, so yeah, maybe like a whole comprehensive a proposal on what to do about these backgrounds.
The the one thing I'm seeing that does affect the backgrounds as I'm going through all the little icons is that the icons are some of them are low contrast. Like they're all similar, but I think if the icons are high contrast and then the backgrounds are low contrast, it'll make the icons stand out more no matter what's happening on the background.
Crickets.
No, yeah, I'm just trying to process. Could you explain it? Could you maybe even just say it all again or say it a different way?
Sure. So like high contrast meaning lots of lights and lots of darks. So like you have a piece of cheese and it has a white highlight on it and a dark shadow. So it's not just a middle tone yellow all the way through. And then if the background is a more like middle tone gray, middle tone green, sort of a similar shade through most of it, not a lot of whites, not a lot of blacks, then the background will recede and the icons will come forward. So like more contrast for icons, less contrast for backgrounds. Because it's hard for a game like this where you have so many items. You don't want to make all the items light and all the items dark. Because it's like, what is that?
Okay, so it sounds like recently we've got two sort of tasks pulled out here. One of them is we could be doing more ambitious things with the backgrounds in general. Let's propose what those might be. And the other task I've pulled out is sort of muting the contrast on backgrounds to improve the look of the items.
I don't want the task to read like this, Will.
How do you want it to read?
I want the muting the background part to be obliterated. It should be in the same way you or I would get a task that says, hey, improve, the visibility of icons in the game.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah,
sure.
we go there because the solution is not my fucking problem.
Exactly. It's the goal is definitely at this point to articulate problems rather than decide on solutions. That's your jurisdiction, Luke, to decide what the right solutions are. But we can do everything that we need to do as co-workers on this project in terms of by talking through the problems themselves.
Yeah.
So. So yeah, one of the problems then is like this one's a problem statement. Variations for location backgrounds. I mean, not everything's a problem story, but
what that one does not say is like, hey, make Halloween. It's like, yeah, like propose what we can do with our backgrounds to improve them. And a lot of these are going to be like, I don't know art, you know art. What would you do?
Yeah.
Congrats, you're allowed to do it.
All right, let's go through some of these ones up here because these were thrown out there early on and I jotted them down. But let's talk a little bit more about like what problems do we have with the item icons? Is this just a less articulated version of improved visibility of icons in the game?
Not exactly. Okay. Improving the visibility is related and I would take care of it.
Yep.
And that's in the same thing. But some of the icons, it's like almost there. It's just like one pixel needs to move diagonally or like there needs to be one little line of a highlight or something, like just a little bit of cleanup, basically.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not all of them have to be like. Ultimately, is if you know what this task means, then that's good enough. It sounds like maybe part of the problem is that the existing sprites could look better. It's without a better way of saying that. I don't know. What do you think, C? Is that a task or is that?
I think it's very specifically like the main task we've thought about this entire time. Like I wouldn't be gun shy about saying that they could use improvement. Like
yeah,
they could. We've sought out professional help, and here we are. Yeah, like item icon cleanup, I think is like is solid. Sure. Improve their looks.
Okay. clarity improvements. Is there a specific problem that we're alluding to with this little item here, or is this another sort of facet of the above task?
It's a more extensive version of the above task, I think. There's a couple things that like, and I have some questions that I'm accumulating based on going through these, but like some of the food is on a plate and some of the food isn't on a plate. So like
the food I made is mostly on a plate. The food, okay. Well, no. That's just an evolution. It's not even a difference of people. Just for clarity, is the first one really technical improvement, and the second one is like not so technical improvement? Is that like really the differentiation, or no? We're basically just going to be interrogating you as to what art means for like.
Yeah, sure. While. The first one I would definitely say is just mostly technical. I wouldn't be doing any like the design of each thing wouldn't really change. The ones that I'm looking at, like the ale or the beer or whatever, the mug with that's frothing over is a good example because it's like really solid, really simple. There's just like, I would add like some highlighting and some like texture in the liquid or whatever. So it would overall look the same, but just be a little bit of improvement. Whereas the clarity stuff, like there's there's apple juice and apple musk, and then, but they both have different apples on them. And I would just try to make the apples be the same icon, you know, like, so then the apple looks the same every time you see it. Or there's some things where you look at it and you don't know immediately what it is. I'm trying to see if I can find a good example of that. Maybe like the ground beef is a good example of that.
Oh yeah, ground beef's awesome.
Cool.
Ground beef is probably like a prime example. Like you cannot use the same treatment with ground beef as you do with a pile of manure and have it sell the same way. It just doesn't. Like the manure looks like a pile of poop. Pile of hamburger on the counter, just like, yeah, it does look the same, but yeah, the ores are just different colors from Badger commenting. Yeah, that's definitely one of them.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I can come up with a more comprehensive list of the clarity things for you guys to see once I've gone through all the icons. If that's helpful.
I guess I just want to avoid work that takes, I want to avoid like overhead tracking work that takes longer than the tasks themselves.
Yep.
You know?
I think we just want to make sure, like, we know you're basically we're just going to cut you loose and you can do a lot of stuff, and it needs to be like topical and we need to prioritize it. We just, right now, I just want to make sure that like we start speaking the same language. I don't think we're going to discuss this kind of minutia all the time.
Okay.
Cool. Should we? So you said that one of the other categories of work that you see is you described as more like revamping the visuals of these things. How do we want to get more specific on this, Z?
I think some icons are just going to need to be remade. I think the stalls are a good example. Some of them might have some capable stuff, but like me doing a prop that's supposed to stand and look semi 3D-ish in 2D. Like those are just, almost every piece of art is like a first or second pass. Some of them, you're going to look at them and go like, I could do this significantly better, and I don't think I will drastically overhaul the aesthetic of the game by doing it. But like categorically, like those stalls definitely look different. Like if you're like, hey, this fermentation bucket doesn't look like a bucket, you're free to say, hey, here's what I would do for a fermentation bucket. I think the main thing is we have there's enough novelty in how janky some of it is, but is still cute. That like we don't want to blow that out of the water. We don't want to completely change how the game looks, but like it is not consistent in terms of quality or even creativity. Like some of these icons were absolutely made under duress because I designed something and I was like, I need to have an icon for ground beef right now.
Yeah.
So I think you're very much free to just like go through and be like, I could do a better bucket. I'm going to do a better bucket.
There's way less that I would put in this category, if that's helpful.
Sweet.
Like it would be the stalls, maybe like some similar things like the drafting table.
Yep. Oh, that drafting table's baller. That is like the ultimate like parallelogram dilemma of pixel art. It's got a little light on it. That one was done very late at night.
I like the light.
The light's the best part. The rest of it is what's brutal on it.
I really just see legs, you know.
Yeah.
Luke, you said that that the things that fall under this category are relatively few. So should we just finish listing them out? Is that kind of what you were getting at?
Yeah, I haven't looked at every single icon.
Okay.
But I could give you a comprehensive list of what I have right now. It's mostly, I think it's going to be like what you were talking about, the stuff that's more or less organic, more like, looks like more complicated, more looks like constructions, looks like buildings, more detailed, bigger. Right now, it's really just like some of the trees and the crafting stations that I'm seeing. But there's a few of these that I'm sure I could whip up like a 5-bullet list by the end of the day.
Sweet.
Okay, that sounds good. Just shoot that my way. I'll drop it in the list, or even we'll get you onto this spreadsheet and you can just put them in here yourself. So
Okay.
I'll make a section for like revamps. That's this section here. All right. What else do we want to talk about? We got some.
I think we need to revamp the locked plots. And that'll be almost like necessary by virtue of changing trees, but also necessary by virtue of the fact that they are like, they're supposed to communicate well and they don't, in terms of like what you're going to get out of them. And like we're going to end up doing work on the background and then immediately they're going to like kind of be, and they're sloppy in some spots. So there's definitely like a pass on all of those would be good. The nice thing about them is that like they're relatively sane to make because they're conglomerates of stuff that's already in the game. But if we're going to change stuff in the game, they're going to look out of place pretty quick.
Yeah, that's an interesting problem. Like the way where my head goes as like the engineering person is like, oh, decouple these systems. Like it shouldn't matter what the locked plot looks like if we change the way the thing that you're getting out of it looks.
Yeah. Yeah. But
maybe that makes it harder. Maybe that just makes the job harder, needlessly harder. So
yeah,
of course I defer to you guys.
Yeah, we have variants of stuff that's in there. It is in the end like level design, and while a lot of them don't necessarily do this, some of them are built in such a way so that like the level they specifically go in isn't all like green on the left, brown on the right. Like there's some thought put into it, and there's variants put in there so you don't get like as far as just a straight up empty plot. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them at certain sizes so that like you don't get that repetition when you zoom out. Like even just moving the for sale sign around, stuff like that. Like it's obviously like I haven't been shooting for super high quality with it, but it hasn't been that tough to do. Like I had one afternoon for the wide open spaces level where I was like, oh snap, this thing's huge. I got to make a bunch more plots. But it's not too bad. I don't think there's any value in doing it programmatic.
Any value in doing what?
Doing anything programmatic around it.
No. Oh, well, and that's not what I was suggesting. I was saying that like, for example, with the smithing stall, putting the actual image of the anvil in there, like, sends the wrong message if what comes out of it changes, I guess is what I mean.
Yeah, it does. The smithing stall it was a bad one.
What's what's the deal with transparency?
What's the deal with it?
If your image if you're talking on a technical level, if the image has an alpha channel, then it'll be respected. It'll be used in game.
Okay, cool.
There is an alpha tile behind all of them that Will and I were debating last week that may screw things up or may make things easier.
I've worked on games where transparency was like a huge no-no because we had like it was a VR game, and so
Yeah, we don't.
If it's a mobile game, yeah, people have to care a lot more about just like exactly what the GPU is doing, and drawing transparency is expensive. But we're not a mobile game. This
Cool.
is
We're not VR. We're not even 3D. Like 3D can even get you with a bunch of transparency on it.
this is almost like an absurd performance situation because like we have access to way more GPU resources than we will ever need. My perf problems are generally like my own like problems as a programmer with how garbage collection works and being lazy and CPU time. Like those are that's where we get pinched technically. So you shouldn't have trouble there.
Yeah, I had similar thoughts about the locked pots with clarity. Or clarity's the wrong word, I guess, but like knowing they're locked or whatever. But there's a couple. I feel like there's a lot of options for that. A way to go with that.
One of the revamps I think we need is the actual CRUFT logo. The text itself is like I love the photography of the perler bead van, and now that has like developed, the CRUFT logo isn't up to the same level anymore. It kind of sticks out. So I feel like that one could use just a total re-envisioning.
I think it might need a little less work than you think, but
okay.
Sweet.
I think it deserves some amount of your time.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's ways there's definitely ways it can be improved, but it does have some of its own charm.
The van needs to be blue now. And the van needs to match the marketing, and it could use a pass. Like there's no like back wheels on it. It has like zero perspective to it. Like it is in game like a stamp. So the actual van asset that we use to drive away when you kidnap chickens, or to drive to the next yard, or in the menu, like I got some really good advice that maybe considering everything is tan or green in the game, I should change the van from green to blue, which I did. On the perler beads and nothing else. So we should probably get those things to line up.
So the problem is that the van does not match the marketing materials.
Yes.
And I'll put in parentheses, it's not blue.
But also like a little extra love to it, given the fact that it's basically become the avatar in the game. It's front and center all over the place. Yeah, and also a heart. Sweet.
I could do a quick like. It's pretty strong, and I wouldn't want to change it, really. But there might be some highlights and things I could add that would look cool.
Cool.
And make it blue.
This is certainly enough to get started. Trees are hard. I wrote down that trees are difficult. Why did I write that down? What can we flesh that out a little bit more? What's happening here?
Some of the trees.
Yeah.
I don't have a concise list of the trees yet. Some of them are close and I could just tweak a little bit, but some of them, the trees that look a little bit like fir trees, maybe they are fir trees. The triangular ones.
Oh yeah.
I think those could use some reworking. Just because trees add a lot to the environment and also the game, and trees are hard and big.
Agreed.
Okay, so I'm gonna say rework the fir trees.
I did have one random art related question.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So I played the game like for like an hour, but I didn't get like bees or anything. So I had a couple things that is any item like animated? Are they all static?
Oh, they're all static right now.
Okay. There was a couple that I think could be really cool, like anything that has a fire on it.
Yep.
Just like a 3-frame like boil of a fire, I feel like it's huge. And then like the beehive with the bees on it.
Making the
I feel like
bees.
you can have little bees like even if they're just like hovering like whatever 2 frames. Like that adds a lot.
The cow blinking would be like amazing.
Blinking is like the easiest thing to animate in the world. Yeah.
Hey, that doesn't mean we don't want to do it. Is it all animals blinking or just the cow?
I think
this is an honest question. I'm just
the reason I say the cow is because it's like its eyes are big and green, but like, and by big I mean 4 pixels instead of 1 or 2. But nah, I mean that's just an example. Like there's definitely spots. I don't think everything needs to go wild all the time, but like a little bit of movement goes a long way.
There's some things that, in my opinion, look odd if they don't move, such as the fire and maybe the bees. But then there's stuff that's just fun, like, and this could be a down the road thing once there's more of the needed stuff is done. But like making a chicken like bounce a little bit is really not hard. Or like whatever. I can't think of something else on the top of my head.
I think we need to do a full pass on ores, metals, boards, logs. And that needs to be related to tree changes and stuff like that. It is very hard to tell what wood you're working with. We did make a lot of types of wood, and I'm happy about that. We did make a lot of types of trees, and I'm happy about that. Thankfully, you can't cut them all down and build stuff with them, but those all were very much like my wife did the seed packets, and those felt like good, and that they all had a consistent background, provided they're actually seeds. The sugar cane is a clipping, the same. But like to crank out that many types of wood, it was like, all right, like we didn't just color shift it, but it's confusing. Like I will always remember pine and the yellow that it has, but after that, like maple versus cedar, I don't know. We got to find some way. Like if the icons were actually different, the shape was different, it would be good. But something there.
So the category of items that need this help are ore, metal, and wood / boards.
Yeah, it's ore, ingots, boards, logs.
Okay. So it's two line items for that.
I just did a bunch of ingots for another game, so.
Sweet.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, they're everywhere. You got crafting, you got ingots. Yep.
Yep.
Okay, so we're sort of shaping up to have like 4 categories here. There's like sprite animation stuff, and I'll talk about why I want that to be a separate category in a sec. UI improvements, these are like things that will have a tangible player experience beyond just things looking cool. Revamps, which is like spots where we know, like now that we have a skilled artist helping us, that this is probably the best place for that effort to go. And then we have the more like low-hanging fruit kind of things up top here that I've struggled to come up with a name for these tasks, but whatever, call it that for now.
Yeah.
Sprite animation. I will have to support some amount of this because I don't think you can just like plug in a GIF and it'll work. I'll have to test. I mean, maybe it is actually as simple as you making it a GIF instead of a PNG or whatever. But I'll have to figure out how we want to do that. So you can't start that yet because we don't know how to make it work yet.
Yep.
In fact, I'm going to drop this on me in here. All right. How do we feel? What do we think? Oh, resizing.
Feels pretty good. I'm just wondering if there's any other stuff like top of mind. Go to the UI section real quick. Color, value, background, location, visibility of icons in the game. So none of what's in here right now is like menus, layout, anything like that. Backgrounds on like the yard background and the phone background doesn't cover the list of the crafting menu, the info panel, the pop-ups that we have. Like those are all very elementary, and then also like font usage, use of drop shadow outline, the coloration of fonts, stuff like that.
I'm just
spitballing.
I'm just spitting out rough ideas, and we'll try and polish these into. Yeah, so crafting menu. I don't know that we want to invest in the info panel when it's probably going to become a tooltip instead in a hot second.
It'll be a tooltip with a background that needs a border that's probably sliced the right way. Like I think no matter what, the actual art assets involved, I shudder to call them assets right now.
And I just don't want to put that up front when you can't actually see it. Like if you can't actually see a tooltip in the game, I don't think it's a good idea to start polishing the look of it, right?
I mean, at this point we are live, and if we're going to do a pass on the crafting panel that's laid out not list-wise in all the components, but like the actual visual presentation of it is identical, I think you just knock both those out in the same pass, and then, because they're both using the same crap, I think. The background, the font stuff like that.
There's almost no difference between the graphic design for the info panel and the station.
Yep. The market and
I would just call it the station UI though, because like the info panel is not worth worrying about too much.
Yeah, we don't want them to look horrifically different. Right now they're styled almost identically to the dump and market buttons.
I still think we need to put those somewhere else.
Well, then that's an investigation task of like the UX around the market and dump buttons.
Yeah. Is that a Luke task? A U task?
That's a Luke task. The resume says UI UX on it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Recommended UX pass on market and dump buttons.
I think our stream is absolutely crawling right now.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't know why.
That's unfortunate.
My internet tubes look clear, but our bit rate is like garbage.
Yeah, so let's think more about the different UI areas of the game. I mean, maybe what the next step here is for you, Luke, to take some time focusing on the UI inside the phone element and making some recommendations, right? For like, what do we need to do to present that information better? What would help? the most.
Yeah, okay.
These are all just evaluations now.
Yes. I mean, I think this is probably going to roll up into a UI UX design doc that I'll point out. I won't say that it doesn't exist, but right now it's just our shared mumbo jumbo on the Miro, which is not the same thing as when an artist says, this is what I would do with the UI.
Yep. All right, what else is missing? And also, I forget when we got started on this, but it could be time for 5 if we're starting to feel frosty. I mean, crispy. It's the opposite of frosty.
Yes. We got an ad in about 10 or 11 minutes. We can piggyback on that.
Okay.
If that works. The pop-ups you want to add to this. Pop-up menus.
Mm-hmm.
The deliciously tan brown pop-up menus.
Yeah, like this one.
Yeah, look at that guy.
I think it's actually like stretched weird too. See how like this side is thicker than that's like.
When I say it's not 9 sliced, it is an image. It is a singular image for the background that just has a line around it.
Oh, it wasn't even the right size when it was made?
How much time do you think I have? it's either that or blank.
Hey, you know, it looks good. I just thought it was an intentional design choice that the side was.
It was an intentional design choice with ramifications.
Yep.
Oh, hey, look at this. That is weird.
That is weird.
Why is that happening all of a sudden?
I don't know.
I'm also baffled. I swear I haven't changed anything.
You guys don't have a UI map, do you?
No.
It's okay if you don't. I was just curious.
Nope.
Okay.
I think we'd like to have one.
Yeah.
It's not super complicated. I just. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something obvious.
I doubt you're missing anything obvious. You're probably missing something.
Oh yeah, I'm missing stuff. Yeah.
When we talk about the van needing some love, is there more that we want to talk about around the van background?
It should just get its own pass. It's like it's its own screen. The van's getting updated as like the drive off asset, but this could use its own entire treatment. I mean, I basically zoomed in, did a capture, did a little bit of cleanup, and carved out a square in the middle of it. I think you're right. That needs its own brand of love.
Does that check out, Luke? What kind of questions or thoughts or concerns might you have if you were like, I got to sit down and do something to this background? What do you want or need to know to do that?
I don't think I need to know anything. I would do the. It would be really dependent on the van, and so I think I would do the van first, and then
Yeah.
see.
Cool. So we'll have this task before this task. Hopefully that's enough words so that we'll remember what it means later.
I've never played a game with almond milk in it, so I think this is really cool.
Cool.
My lactose-free roommate will love that.
Not sure there's anything you really do with it yet, but one of the things I will warn you on, it is there, exactly. It's a foothold. I've got to invite you, I think, still to all the data files that we've got. And I want to make sure that you don't end up going off the rails and there is, to some extent, in the general fixing up of icons and stuff, like there will be icons you fix up that aren't in the game yet. Or they're in the Unity build, they're not utilized somewhere. There's not a thing that crafts them yet or whatever. Because we did a pretty sizable asset pass like at the beginning, and then we paired stuff back for the demo, and now we're adding stuff back in. But I do want to make sure that like you're not just, you have an understanding of what is used in the game, just so that you don't over focus on something that hasn't seen the light of day yet.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Let me see.
Is there a simple tool or like report I can write that would disambiguate what assets are in use?
Probably so. Like right now, for certain things like items, it is tracked in the items table. Like when we add a sprite for it, we got to point to it. But sprites, so like item sprites, no problem. Everything else is just like if it's there, it's there. So I wouldn't over focus on sprites. I would say things like well, I mean, Chivo icons are in there. No, you're right. Sprites is the right term. It's just that item sprites is largely handled.
Item sprites are, well, so if it's not item sprites,
then we have a problem.
Who has a problem?
We all do, knowing whether or not it's being used. I could make a Chivo
There's
icon.
There's no way for me to scrape the data to tell you whether a random image in the project is used. That's
Correct.
Probably just a quick question to the. That's just a quick post to the pathetic requests channel.
Right.
But
what I'm saying is
what I'm saying is that if there's anything I can do on the tech side to make it easier to figure out what's being used,
that's
I'd rather do that.
I'm in agreement with you. What I'm saying is not a scrape of the data. I'm talking like, hey, this thing is in the sprites folder. Has it been called by the game, or does it go somewhere? Like, does it get used?
That's what you're suggesting the tool do?
Yeah.
Okay. Might be easier to call out unused sprites than.
Yes. All right, I'm inviting Luke to our CRUFT data directory.
Yeah.
Contributor. Yeah. Share anyway. You're not part of this organization. You letting this out. I'm glad Google at least like warns you that you're not paying for this person to have an email account. Are you sure you want to send this?
But thanks, but
yeah,
for sure.
So there's a bunch of tables. The big one is the item templates table, and believe it or not, the actual tab we're using is demo, not prod. I can rename some of them, but I'm not gonna. And it does have a column for sprite file name, and so anything that's in here that has something listed for sprite file name has a sprite that we're using. But there are more items. They just don't have item entries because we're not letting you build stuff with them yet. And then, as Will found out this morning, some things like Pharaoh, Farro, do exist in the game. We don't let you do anything with them. So,
yeah, I noticed that.
oops.
Not that you don't do anything with them, but
yeah. Or someone else saying, "How do I make yeast?" Which is literally what I'm wondering myself right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, if you both were capable of surviving after an apocalypse, the first thing you do is get a fermentation bucket, some flour, and some water, and you make a sourdough. And then you would feed that continually and take the off-put yeast out of it and use that to make your bread. It's clear as day. It's really not clear, but that is how you do it.
How are we on add ETA?
Yeah. It starts in 1 minute and 2 seconds.
Cool. I just fired up the game thinking that it would jog my memory for other things. I mean, I think we've covered a pretty good slice of what would probably be big step forward for whatever we have here.
Mm-hmm.
I added a note for if we're going to rework the fir trees, then the main menu and the yard transition sequence would need to then be in line with that. Last thought about trees. Right now, they're just kind of baked into the background images. They're copies of existing assets, but they're separate. Do we actually want the ability to place like a deco object in the background so that those things are more programmatic?
The last time, excuse me, the last time we talked about it, it was kind of like, well, I don't know that we have time. We are in an ad right now. Let's take 5, come back.
Yeah, let's take 5. I go get some water.
BRB.
memory be our transition